Spring has sprung. The spring sunshine can certainly show the dust all around the house and the spots on the windows. It's definitely time for some spring cleaning, especially in my house. But how do we get cleaning to be a family affair and not a mom only affair? And how do we also encourage our children with special needs to help? Well, Michelle Janetti caught up with Wendy Zanders, and she's also known as Your Declutter Coach, and asked her these very questions and more.
My name is Wendy Zanders. I am a declutter coach, and I say your declutter coach actually because I say when I'm working with my clients, I want them to know that I'm fully invested in their process along with them. So I always say I'm your declutter coach. I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, moved to Maryland when I was 14. I am a United States Army veteran, so joined the military when I was 17, and scored really high in the ASVAB, which is like a battery test to see what you're great at when it comes to the military. So, and I scored really high for logistics. So what that means is that you can take a Lowe's or a Staples store like Staples or Office Max, and I was able to maintain those for our unit to make sure that we were mission ready for deployments, for field exercises, whatever that was, making sure that all weapons and ammunition was accounted for. Those keep our commanders out of jail because those are accounted for. And just scoring really, really high. I have undiagnosed ADHD. So in growing up, I really struggled in school, but I was able to create systems for myself that helped me stay organized and make honor roll and get A's and B's in school. And that was doing the Pomodoro method. I remember my little sister, she always used to say, "You never play with me, you're always studying." That was because I needed to study 3 times as hard to cram and memorize for that test. And I would say, okay, I'll play 2 games of cards with you and I'm going to study for 30 minutes. So that was my Pomodoro method in the 90s.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And then for me, stress used to be very, very high in high school, maintaining and trying to memorize and all those things. And I found myself on a Friday night just kind of calming myself to get ready for the weekend to kind of de-stress. I would clean my room, I was vacuuming, I was dusting my furniture, I was doing laundry, cleaning my room as a way to really de-stress from the week. And I find myself doing that now when I feel overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, let's get back.
What can I clean?
Yeah, let's get back to the basics and just really strip everything away and start fresh again. So I'm so excited to be here. I also struggle with PTSD, depression, ADHD, and anxiety. And my business is my therapy. So working with like my families that are struggling, it gives me that way to say, I can come alongside you. I've been where you've been, and I'm able to just help them zen.
Absolutely. And I know, so when we're through with this, and everyone wants to contact you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yes. So I offer free 20-minute consultation, whether they're looking to work with me or just say, oh my gosh, Wendy, thank you so much for these tips. I do virtual coffee chats, but I also do virtual consultations, 20 minutes free, just to get a sense of where the families are, what their struggles are, and how I can help them. So for me, it's I have an Acuity link that I can give, but also they can find me on my website, wendyzanders.com.
Very good. Okay, sounds good. Sounds like you took it all and just kind of channeled it into this amazing chance to help everybody use what you've done so well. So what we're going to do is we'll go over the scenarios and then just wait for you to kind of wrangle them in for us. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the first scenario, and I'm sure a lot of parents can relate to this. So I said, as you reach into your child's backpack, you feel a wrinkled piece of paper. And as you pull it out and flatten it against the table, you realize it's a notice from the school about your child's progress. You check the date and you see that you still have some time to respond, and you walk over to your work area to find a place for it. You know you need to remember it, so you put it on top of another form, one you're sure that you already dealt with. Well, you're almost sure you did. Wow, you think as you see your work area, there are so many piles of things. You see mail and reports from school, IEP papers, progress reports, and papers from a long while ago. All right, so how can I begin to organize or tame this mess? And what do I do first?
Yes. You know, a lot of times I always tell parents, I've been where you've been. People
Mm,
think that they are in this struggle themselves. You are not alone.
yeah,
So I will say, you are not alone.
yeah.
We are a homeschooling family, but we used to, my kids used to go to public school, and this was a real scenario. You
Mhm.
walk in, you realize, oh my goodness, I haven't done this. It's been in the bottom of the backpack. My son didn't give it to me. And oh, I
Mhm.
still have time. Okay, awesome. I work off of a paper calendar. So I will always say, do you work off of a paper calendar, or do you have a Google Calendar, or both?
Okay.
Depends on what's going on. I work on both
Okay.
because my family sees the Google Calendar. So I kind of have that. But when I'm focusing on what I need to do, I have my paper calendar.
Okay.
So I will say, don't just drop it on that table because you're going to be busy. You're going to be going off to the next thing. What I would say is that if you have time, put it inside of your paper calendar, or if you have your Google Calendar, make a note to do it
Okay.
if you're able to do it right then and there. But honestly, if you can do it right then and there, it's always best to
To
just
do
stop
it right
and get
away.
it done. Yeah. But if you're saying, oh my gosh, my desk is a mess, or even if they say, what do I even do here? I'm taking a little bit further.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
absolutely.
and I can show you my pile right here on the floor. Oop, where there.
Okay.
That's my pile of to-dos that's off of my desk. And so if those piles were on my desk, then I would say, what are these piles? Figure out
Absolutely.
what those piles are because you
Okay.
were in the middle of something before you got distracted, right?
Yeah.
So come back and say, okay, I was working on this. This award needs to go out the door. This needs to go in the file cabinet. You mentioned IEP papers. Maybe you have all those things on your desk. Bind or clip them because
Okay.
don't undo your progress because you'd be like, I'm just going to gather everything back up. No, don't do
And
that.
make one big pile.
Right. So bind or clip the
Okay.
IEP paper pile that you were working on. Bind or clip the mail. Bind or clip the piles that you already have.
Okay.
Do those, but get a container and put everything in there. And then just take one pile back out at a
Okay.
time and start processing it. But that piece of paper that came out of your son's backpack, if you are able to tackle it right then and there, do that because it's not going to fall right on you. You have to take it back to the kid's school, right? It's something
Right.
that needs to go back.
It's
So
got a deadline. Yeah.
yeah, so it's not like you're just going to pay that bill for that field trip and then it's going to be done. It needs to go back to the school. So it might take a couple of days for you to say, okay, son, did you turn it back in? So
Yeah.
so you sign it right then and there, and then put it back in the kid's
Okay.
backpack. Or even if you have another note, just send a little note to the teacher and just say, I am so sorry, it's coming back tomorrow. Just
Okay.
quick and dirty and to the point. Because sometimes the teachers are like, where's that paper? So
Mhm.
it's always great to stay in connection with their teachers as well, to
Okay.
know that I got the paper today, it's coming back tomorrow. And his teachers have always been amazing with that, being part of that support system.
So just
So I
like,
hope that answered that question for you.
yeah, no, that's good. So don't panic at it little bit by little bit, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. All right. So scenario 2.
Yes.
So it starts with a few blankets thrown around. After all, it's a pandemic and we are home all the time. And you comfort yourself by saying that, but then you look at the empty boxes in the pantry, and the pantry does need cleaned, not to say. And then not to mention the food you bought a while ago, and you just wonder if it's time to kind of pitch it. And the silverware drawer looks like your helpers airdrop the clean silverware into the drawer instead of putting it away into their slots. The more you look around, the more you see the signs that life in a pandemic, and you rationalize that it's been one heck of a year, and that soothes you for a bit until you take a look at your windows that you could once see clearly out of. And the issue's clear. How can I clean during a pandemic? What are the tips and tricks for cleaning 101? And how do I get my helpers to help well?
Yes.
So let's start there. So how can I spring clean during a pandemic? How do I start?
So I'm going to take you back to when I was battling my bout with depression. This was my version of a pandemic, I will have to say. just kind of figuring out, here I am working with my therapist in the middle of my depression. My home falling apart was not a priority for me, right? But once I was able to get under control with my therapist, I told my therapist, I said, by the time we come back for the next session, I want to have my kitchen done because I wasn't able to cook in my kitchen. It just wasn't a priority. And I was able to tackle that. So I had somebody hold me accountable. If you're not able to hire a cleaner or you're not able to hire a professional organizer to come in, and you're really saying, I need to get this under control with my family, I would say hold yourself accountable. Maybe reach out to a friend and say, hey, can you hold me accountable to do X? But just to take it a little bit back, we really have to sit down with our family and say, I need everybody to get on board, especially if your kids are of age. Like, again, we are a homeschooling family. So teaching these life skills to our kids are very important. Yes, it may be easier for you to do it, but we have to give ourselves grace and give our family grace to say, I need to teach my kids these skills. It may not be exactly how I want it done, but it's a life skill that they will be able to carry on for a lifetime.
Sure.
So my son is 14 and my daughter is 7, and they have ADHD and my daughter have sensory processing. So that repetition is like, sometimes I want to say, I'm just gonna do it myself.
It's true.
But we have to let them learn how to do it and not burn ourselves out as moms. So we have to enlist the help. So one thing that I did, I went through the house and I list every single thing in my home. I picked the kitchen and I list the pantry and the cabinets and every drawer, and I wrote it down, like each step. And it wasn't about trying to get the whole house spotless in one day. It was just going to be processes over the time frame, and then make it a teaching moment for our kids, but really sitting down with the family and say, guys, I am burnt out. I am tired. I am exhausted. And I really need you guys to help me. We are in the middle of a pandemic. Even if it wasn't a pandemic, I think this is still something that could be done and should be done, to just sit down and say, I need you guys to help me. This is something that I'm teaching you guys for a lifetime. This is not just me nagging you saying, this is how you load a dishwasher. This is how you do laundry. This is how you put things back in the drawer, the clean dishes, so make it a teaching moment. And a lot of times the kids would say, Mom, how can I help? And sometimes there may be some discipline actions that need to happen to say,
I was just going to ask you, do you plan on, or do you advise like revisiting it with the kids like once a month, or do you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. And if you have a couple of kids, different ages, maybe you say, okay, son number 1 or child number 1, you load the dishwasher on a Sunday night this week. Next Sunday night is child number 2. And so it's not like it's, I'm always cleaning, I'm always organizing, but you're making sure that these are teaching moments. And for me, when I'm working with my families, it's not about being perfect. If you're looking for perfect, sometimes I post and I say, I have failed. And it is okay, because I'd rather do a dance party with my daughter and watch a movie than do
absolutely
X. Sometimes we have to say, it's not about the house being spotless. If you have friends coming over and they're looking for a perfect house, this is not the house for you.
Please don't look at this house.
Right. My house is not Pinterest perfect. My house is lived in. And you may have a straggling sock on the floor by the front door when you walk in. And, it's okay. We need to be okay.
Well, maybe realistic.
Not being perfect.
Yeah, realistic. And do you do charts for the kids or more verbal to get the helpers to help?
We do verbal and we do charts. The charts, they work some, but I think the repetition is more of what.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
so
good.
My daughter, first thing in the morning, she'll come in and say, hey, can I use the tablet? And I said, did you brush your teeth? Did you make your bed? Did you clean your room? So
consistently reinforcing. Okay.
Yeah. And even saying, you have your chore chart. Did you finish what you needed to do? Well, my son is 14. He's a budding entrepreneur. Well, now he's into gaming. And I'm like, okay, now it's not so much about just playing video games as he is an entrepreneur. And I'm like, so having that little leeway to say gaming was only for the weekends. Now there's spots during the day. So things are going to change. And what you may say this week could be different next week. And it's not like you're wishy-washy, but things are going to change.
Maybe that's goes back to the communication point like you made with being communicating with teachers. You just keep communicating with your kids about like what's currently life, what life is currently. Yeah,
Right.
that's good.
Absolutely.
I just told my
and I hope
children.
I'm answering. Say it again.
No, I said I just told my children that there was not a magic portal between the sink and the dishwasher. So we just had that chat a couple days ago. So
Yes. And I hope that answers. I hope that answers that question.
Oh, you
did.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but taking those, writing down all the different spaces, and then breaking it out and saying, I am not going to do all these cracks and crevices of this house. We have yard work. We have, maybe you have a basement. Maybe you have an attic. You have a garage. And just make it teaching moments for the kids. And they're always, every child, maybe by the end of the year, say, this is what our school year is going to look like for home economics. Let's bring that back, right?
Yeah.
Home economics is very important for everybody. If you're not teaching it in school, even if your child is in public school, you can still have a curriculum at home for life skills. And by the end of the year, we want to have the whole house done, because I think if the kids are invested, if they are part of making the home clean, more than likely they're going to want to keep it clean.
Yeah, that's true. So even going through the pantry and talking about what happens when boxes are empty and they don't go back in just because they look pretty all lined up empty.
Right.
But this is all part of your
empty. Exactly. And then too, with the pantry, if something is out, then have a list on the fridge, or maybe share a note. If you have iPhones, share a note that's and mark it groceries. So if the child eats the last of the cereal, they can put it on there, or maybe don't even wait for it to get to the last of the cereal.
Sure. Right.
When it's getting low, put it on the list. So whoever's doing the grocery shopping can replenish that. Make those teaching moments for those kids. And when they walk, I think you mentioned they walk in and they're just throwing their things everywhere. There's no housemaid. And even if there was a housemaid, we're teaching you life skills to put your stuff back where it belongs.
Oh, so yes, you did. You